Hi everyone, my name is Joseph, and today I want to have a discussion about Horus Rising, a novel by Dan Abnett that first released on April 25th, 2006. And since I have this information available to me right here in front of me, it's also currently on its third print run. So, yeah, this is my first going with a Warhammer 40k novel. If you guys watch my reviews for the video games, this is not my first foray into the world of Warhammer 40k. I first tried with video games, specifically with Moderer Inquisitor. But that kind of genre, I do like the what's that genre? A dungeon crawler, I suppose. I forgot the specific genre. That's not typically my cup of tea, so I am playing it here and there. And then I played Space Marine 1 and 2, and I did actually complete those games, and I did really much enjoy them. I tried to get into the novel before playing Space Marine 1, but I'm not going to lie, as me being transparent. It took me a little while before I finally got into the groove of Warhammer, and then when I finally did play the game, it did get me into the mood of consuming more Space Marine material. So when I first started going back into Dan Abnett's novel, I was about 40 pages in already, and for me, it finally just clicked. I don't know why. Maybe because I was just being impatient before, but before this, I got up to the point where so minor spoilers. I forgot the character's name as well. There's a lot of characters in this novel, so pardon me if I forget some of them. But the gentleman who goes into a bar. He goes outside of his jurisdiction from the planet, what, 63 Fort. I forgot what the planet's called, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm referring to, where Samus is located. And he goes off away from where he's supposed to be, and he ends up going to an area with the bar, and he sees a lot of destruction that the Imperium has done. And he actually tells some Imperial soldiers that essentially that they're the bad guys and that they're forever going to be at war, because that's just who they are. And they being the soldiers, end up beating him to the point of near death. I actually thought he was dead, but it was actually quite cool how they being the right Dan Abnett brings that character back into the story, and I feel like he brings it back in a very interesting, creative way. I am looking forward to the novel, the sequel. I don't think it's written by Dan Abnett, but I am hoping that they'll continue the thread with some of these characters, especially with Garvel Lucan, the main character. I'd say at first I was neutral towards him. I was kind of nervous about reading the Horus Rising novels, because I always hear that when the novels are from the perspective of Primarchs, or when they include a lot of Primarchs, excuse me, not just Primarchs but also Space Marines, there's usually a lot of lack of humanity, and it's really difficult to get into to support the main character, to root for them. I'm happy to say that's not the case with Loken. Loken might be a Space Marine, a Luna Wolf. But his characterization, I really much do enjoy it. I love the way that he's always seemingly to be not in the he is in the middle, but only because he's thinking about everything. And I love how Horus actually points out that he does a couple of times point out that it's only Loken who has noticed a specific detail. And it's pretty cool because we the reader, we end up joining within the story when Loken ends up joining the Monarval. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, Mornival, but essentially the Erno Circle that helps to not advise but give advisement need be, but also opinions when also need be, for Horus, the War Master. And yeah, so this book is split into three main sections, with the first half being on that planet 6314 or whatever that it's called. The second portion focusing on the planet Murder and these Xenos that are present within Murder, that's giving a lot of battle experience to the Luna Wolves, the Blood Angels, and even the Imperial Fists. And then the third part ends up shifting on a little bit over from the planet Murder, but it is nicely connected because we, the readers, end up interacting with. I am being vague on purpose. I know I usually do spoilers. Well, I don't care about spoilers, but in this instance, it's just a minor spoiler. For me, it was really fun to read about. I was like, oh, I don't think we'll be getting into these kind of relations so soon. So, it was very fun, the third part as well. And I always saw people saying the phrase, so excuse me, I'm going to say let me go ahead and give some context before I say what I'm about to say, because this does include a cuss word. And to my understanding with YouTube, one needs to wait a certain amount of time before they can say a cuss word. But I loved how the Dan Abnett, he doesn't have just Horus. He also includes other Primarchs. And although they're not present for as long, they're just here for a short amount of time. It was really cool. Sorry, guys, I don't know what's wrong with my hair. I don't like how my hair's doing that. It was really cool being able to see. Sorry, everyone. It was really cool being able, and I just made it worse. It's fine. I thank you for your patience, everyone. It was really cool being able to see Horus engage and interact with Sanguinus, for example. Especially as someone who's always heard so much about other Primarchs, it was kind of cool to finally, quote unquote, meet Sanguinus. And there was a couple, there were other Primarchs that were indirectly mentioned that were discussed, like, for example, the Lion, and how the Lion is now asking for assistance from an opinion, a battle opinion from Horus. And another Primarch who at first was not happy about Horus being a War Master. I believe the one who's in charge of the Alpha Legion. Again, I'm a new Warhammer fan, so forgive me if I don't recall his name. But so far, Dan Abnett's doing such a great job of making the readers side with Horus. I'm already aware, so spoilers, but Horus is going to go against his father, the Emperor, and the heresy is going to begin. And so far, there's a lot of foreshadowing, and it's kind of funny how obvious the foreshadowing is. But I think the writer's doing that on purpose. It's just kind of having fun with it. But my favorite bit of foreshadowing is towards the end. In part 3, there's one part where Loken sees that Horus is so burdened with him trying to act as the step-in for the Emperor, but not just in terms of war and battles, but he also wants to be a step-in in terms of politicking, in terms of negotiating and being a good diplomat. And there's a part where Horus essentially looks up at the sky and he doesn't shout, but he says under his breath, "The burden that you've given me, Father, it's too much." Very much reminiscent. It reminds me a little bit of the scene of Jesus at the Garden of, I forget the garden's name, when he's talking to God and he says that this burden is too much, right? That's what it kind of reminded me of. And it was actually it really did put Horus in a sympathetic light. And I love how the narrative states that one could have built a statue of Horus as a way to show his dedication to the Emperor, his dutifulness, his loyalty to the Emperor. But of course, the font, the narrative says, but of course that's not meant to be for circumstances that will unravel, right? Or of course the Horus heresy. So it was really cool. The Abnett does such a great job of making the Space Marines seem a little bit more human. It's my first book reading, but from what I read from other people, that's one of the big parts that a lot of people don't like about Space Marines in the novel. It's just that inhumane, how difficult it is to relate with them. I was having a good time with Loken. Samus. We had to talk about Samus. When I first came across Samus, I'm not going to lie, I was like, Samus, why would they name this character Samus? I'm totally thinking of Samus Aran from Metroid Prime. This might be a bit of an issue, right? Thankfully, though, as we continue reading, in fact, you know what? Let me just pull up the hammer, the quote that Samus likes to say. So Samus is a demon essentially, and Samus, that's the only name you'll hear. Samus. It means the end and the death. Samus. I am Samus. Samus is all around you. Samus is the man beside you. Samus will gnaw on your bones. Look out. Samus is here. So if one hasn't read this novel, that probably sounds like, what am I reading? It sounds so cheesy. It sounds a little bit cringy even. Why does he keep saying his name Samus? I was thinking those thoughts as well. But as we continue, so we first get introduced to Samus via the I didn't mean to touch my hair. Via the Vox system through the intercom. There seems to be a voice projecting. When the Space Marines, they all believe it's a tactic being used, a psychological tactic being used by the fighters, the freedom fighters of Planet 6314, whatever that planet is called. Pardon me. Actually, I just realized that since I have this open, we could probably just go to the wiki, and I'm sure the wiki would tell us what planet. 6319. There you go. Pardon me, everyone was getting it wrong. 63. Obviously, I was getting it wrong. 6319. So the fighters who are trying to relieve themselves, free themselves from the oppression of the Imperium. I say oppression, but obviously it is oppression. But that's a different conversation. The Luna Wolves believe that it's just these fighters trying to do psychological intimidation. But what I love so much about the first part is at the same time while the Space Marines are going into battle, there's a group of iterators and rememberers, excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but essentially historians and it's journalists essentially who are landing as well, and they're also hearing the same broadcast that Samus is here, Samus is the man beside you, look out, Samus is here. And what makes it spooky, and they gave me the chills a little bit, was when one of the characters stated they don't have a Vox system. They're essentially just hearing this voice in the air. And I was like, whoa, that is so cool. That is so creepy. That's awesome. And the story shifts on over back to the Space Marines, and they're all the Luna Wolves, and they all believe that it's coming from their system. So it was just so cool. And I do have to of course, talk about Jabba. So I'm not gonna lie, probably the best part of this novel is part one. Actually, for the first time while I was reading, it actually made me react. I actually got quote unquote spooked. So there's a part where Jabba, another Luna Wolf, unfortunately becomes possessed by Samus, and it was so cool how Samus introduced himself. Jabba's like, "Don't you see Samus? Samus is right there in the waterfall." And Logan's like, "What's wrong with you? What's going on?" And then all of a sudden, Jabba just says, "Samus is beside you. Look out, Samus is here." And then he starts attacking the other Luna Wolves. I thought that was really well done in a creepy kind of way. And then after it looks like the team has won, Jabba has been put down. Cinderman, a friend of Loken, is talking to Loken, trying to figure out what happened. Was this some kind of curse, some kind of religious incident? Because again, the Imperial Truth states that there's no such thing as religion, there's no such thing as demons, there's no such thing as superstition. So, of course, Loken's trying to make sense of this. I like Cinderman's character, and Cinderman's trying to help him. I was really worried that Jabba killed Cinderman when he pushed him when he flung him away. Anyways, but Cinderman looks at the corpse of Jabba and he goes, "Oh, this poor space marine." You could tell that he's been so gravely affected by whatever it is that affected him mentally. When all of a sudden the body starts convulsing, and the body actually comes up alive, and he states, "Samus is here." And I was actually eating my dinner when I read that. It did spook me because I was not expecting that. When I saw the body convulsing, I had to turn the page. I was reading on my Kindle. I had to go to the next page. And so when all of a sudden he goes, "Look out, Samus is here," that's the part that caught me off guard. I was like, "Oh yeah, body convulsing. I'm totally used to that." They're just trying to give us a jump scare. But all of a sudden that, again, Samus is here. I was like, "Oh no, Samus, why are you here? Stop this." It was really cool. And I loved how... So typically I don't like when the action is broken up, but Dan Abnett does a good job of just making the action just escalate, because the reader does want to stay with Jabba, wants to stay with Samus. I guess Jabba slash Samus and Loken and Vipus, I believe his name is, and Cinderman. But the story transitions over to the journalists, and then we get to see Jabba from the perspective of the journalists, which is also quite well done as well. It was all just really fun, and even the minor characters like Vipus that I mentioned, I love how Loken just says that, "Vipus, stay with me," because he trusts him. And it's so cool how it's looking like Jabba's going to get Loken, and all of a sudden it's described that you hear the sound of a boat, so there's bam, 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 and then you see that it's coming from Vipus. I'm probably not pronouncing his name correctly, excuse me everyone, but unfortunately he was only present for the first part. I'm hoping he'll come back again. It's really cool when stories bring back minor characters to continue doing their side roles, so then it makes them feel, even though they are minor characters, part of the story. And so again, I did finish the novel, although it did take me a little bit to get started. I'm not going to lie, I think it took me a little bit to get started because I was being judgmental. I felt like, I can't believe I'm reading a Warhammer novel about space marines of all things. It kind of feels like I'm reading a novel about Power Rangers. I know that's a little bit silly to say, but that was kind of my attitude and my mindset. And I think that's what prevents me from really getting into the story or the novel. But once I played Space Marine, I was like, this was cool. This was awesome. I really liked the lore. This was a lot of fun. Who cares for the novel, which is about Power Rangers? I really enjoyed Power Rangers back in the day. I'm enjoying Warhammer right now. Let me go ahead and enjoy myself. And I completely went in not expecting so many horror elements, not expecting so many biblical allegories like with Horus. So many cool elements of brothership. I love the whole Loken joining that one brotherhood that he did not. What's they're saying? I have nothing to say, or I don't have anything to add to the matter, or whatever. That was done really well as well. So I am looking forward to starting part 2. If one hasn't read this novel, I highly recommend it. Would I recommend it? Oh yeah, of course. I just said so too, right? So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. If you haven't read a Warhammer novel, do keep in mind though. So one needs to keep in mind this is based on Warhammer 30K. So it is Warhammer 40K, but the timeline of the story is taking place during the 30th millennium. So if one wants to read like modern Warhammer, then you'll probably be better off with the Cypher Cassius. I forget what it's called. The Gaunt novels. Those ones take place in the proper modern setting, quote unquote. I say modern setting because in case one didn't know, we're now in the 42nd millennium with the Dominus Crusade, with the return of many Primarchs, excuse me. There's only been 2 Primarchs, with the return of Gilliman and the Lionel Johnson. If you've read the novel, please let me know what's your opinion. I am planning to finish the Horus Heresy completely. I probably won't be going through it all at once, though. I'll be taking breaks here and there, especially because I do hear that the Heresy Incomplete, not all novels or not all entries are quality entries. But for sure, I do want to read the first 4 because that's what everyone states that you should at least get up to before moving on to specific chapters of the Space Marines or specific groups, excuse me. So I'm looking forward to reading more. I'm looking forward to what else that Abnett has in store, and I'm really hopeful that the other Black Library authors are just as fun, just as creative as Dan Abnett. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Oh, wait, the quote that I wanted to say, pardon me. So, what was the quote? Oh, no. So I always see Warhammer fans saying, fuck Erebus. And I'm always confused about that. Like, who is Erebus? What did he do that's so bad? And I did look into it. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I could see why. But everyone's always constantly saying, fuck Erebus, fuck Erebus. Since we're at the end of the video, I would say that part 3 deals with a human alien empire called the Enterex. And as it turns out, what could have been a really positive relationship between the Enterex and the Imperium, due to Horus and what he's doing with his diplomatic skills, all ends up falling apart. Why? Because of Erebus. And I'm not going to lie, when that small passage was revealed that he stole the Atitanimum, I can't pronounce it, but the weapon that's supposed to be like the ultimate weapon, I was like just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, no wonder people say fuck Erebus. Fuck Erebus. So I'm looking forward to read more about the Horus heresy so that I could be more with the community and not just state that saying, but completely understand it as well. I am now starting to understand it, and what an annoying character for him to have done something so silly. I'm curious as to why he stole that sword. Was it just, did he have a plan of some kind, or was it just curiosity? I guess I'm hoping the next novels will go ahead and reveal that. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, everyone. I do appreciate it. Let me know if you're a Warhammer fan. Let me know if you read the novels. Which series do you recommend? After the Horus Heresy, the first novels, I am planning to read more about the Space Wolves, because I guess I like them, the wolves and stuff. I am going to read more about the Blood Angels. I already have a series set up with which books I should read from the Horus Heresy. I want to continue specifically with the Space Wolves, the Horus Heresy, and then eventually I do want to read about the Dominance Crusade as well. And Lionel Johnson. One of the reasons why I really want to read the novels is because of Lionel Johnson. So I don't mind starting at the 30K level because I do want to get the background of the history. When it comes to the 40K, the modern setting, it's the Lionel Johnson that really wanted me to start reading the novel so I could read his most recent novel. So again, thank you for joining me, everyone. I really do appreciate it. I hope you all have a great day, blessed by the Emperor, and may you do everything in the name of the Emperor. I'm just joking, but the Emperor protects everyone. Take care.